Okay. In the last week's shlokas, we have been looking at the verses where Krishna is trying to tell us sacrifices that can be practiced by karma yogis. What type of sacrifices? The karma yoga is all about sacrifice. Yajna is the word that he's been using it. Towards that, we have seen how to practice some of the yajnas. For example, to restrain our ears, for example, to start with, control the pleasures that our ears are enjoying is one way of yajna. And the other way of yajna, he said, through the eyes. Every indriya, we all have 5 indriyas, 5 possible ways. Any one that we choose, we can go with that path and say that I'm going to sacrifice this or that or that or that, which is not really helping me make any progress in life. So why should I be addicted to it? It can be whatever that we are addicted with our eyes or ears or skin or anything. That is what he means by sacrifice using the indriyas. Now he went one level where he mentioned about in the last week's shloka, Dravya Yajna. We have introduced a new term called Dravya Yajna, where he said, Dravya Yajna, Stapo Yajna, Yoga Yajna, Tatha Pare, Swadhyaya Jnana Yajnascha, Yataya Samsitavrataha. That was the shloka, that was verse number 28. In that, Dravya Yajna, just give people what you can, donate or do yajna through materials. That is Dravya Yajna, without expecting anything in return. That is more important. Everyone will be willing to give, but there will be a little bit of expectation in when we are actually giving to others. Without that expectation, one has to give. No matter which path we choose for yajna, sacrifice anything, he is going to list down other options also. But no matter which path we choose, there should be a sense of detachment, in the sense I'm not doing it for my own welfare. I'm doing it just for the purpose that it has been destined by Krishna. It has been instructed by Krishna to me in order to practice the karma yoga. And anything that accrues out of this practice, I will not take any credit to myself. While practice, initially it will be harder to practice, but while we keep practicing, slowly our ahankaram and mamakaram will be going away. Ahankaram means the I am doing it, I am the great, I am the one who performed this action, I am the one who helped them do this, that I. The pride that we feel within ourselves. That's the number one enemy to most of us. We may not be realizing that, but most of the things that is happening around this world today, if you look at it, it is because of the pride and ego, the I. The reason that we are not able to ask forgiveness from others, a simple thing, we do something, we know that for sure that what we have done is wrong, maybe immediately or after a while. But in order to ask that forgiveness, our ego will not let us do. If you have observed it, we will not even accept it that I did wrong, even though deep within ourselves, conscience still will, conscience, in the conscience, we know for sure that what we have done is not right. Still, our ego will prevent us from admitting it, right? Most of the time, we do not want to admit because we, we think our ego is getting a hit. Our ego is, we have to swallow our ego in order to admit our mistake. That is the I. That I is really hurting us. The thought of that I is really hurting us. How much we all realize it? We may not realize it because we are living with that I. We are associated with that I. That's why we are not able to appreciate the harmfulness of that ego or the I that we hold in our mind. That is number one enemy of us in spirituality, in spiritualistic progress. If you wanted to truly progress spiritually, the number one is the ahankaram, that is the I feeling. The second enemy is the mamakaram, which is mine. This belongs to mine. This belongs to mine. So these two things will have to be conquered. And we ask Krishna, what is the way? We understand, okay, to some extent we know that these are hurting us. Now we wanted to take those two enemies by their horns. So what is the way? Then he says that sacrifice is the way, yajna is the way. Sacrifice, again, is not blindly doing the sacrifice, but there are systematic approach that he's, prescriptions that he's providing to us, which we can use to follow and practice in the way that he is asking us to do. Towards that, the result of that will be to cleanse our mind. That is the result. End goal is that. And so when you are thinking like anything, should I do this or not do this? Simple answer is, will I get to the end goal? By doing this or not doing this, will I reach the stage where my mind will be cleansed or not? That is a simple question, right? If we can answer that, then we get the answer to whether to do this, not to do this. If by indulging in an action, my mind is going to be even more stained, corrupted, distorted, then I better stay back from that action, right? My mind, again, stained. It's, for example, by thinking negatively about others, definitely it's going to stain, it's leaving its footprints in my mind, right? Again, I'm going to keep negatively thinking about others. And if I do an action negatively, that's going to get its footprints in my mind, leave its strong prints in my mind, right? And so naturally, it doesn't make sense to get a result where my mind is even more adulterated. The goal should be to cleanse the mind. The goal should be to remove all such footprints that have been placed in our mind about various ideas that we hold in our mind, right? About this is wrong, this is right, this is good, this is bad. a lot of incorrect ideas we have framed within ourselves. The goal is to remove that, to erase it. If it is a pencil drawing, we can just take an eraser and then just erase it. Even if it is a deep, deep dirt, probably you can use some kind of an acid or any such thing, right? Cleaning agent that can be used to clean it. But if it is mind, and that mind has accumulated some incorrect and improper thoughts and ideas about this world, about ourselves, about others, then what is the best way to cleanse the mind? You ever wondered? We've been given a wonderful tool called this mind within our own body. And we are literally, at times, I would say, abusing it. In the sense we throw at it anything and everything that happens around us. And we do not know how to get rid of them. They just go there and then they stay there and they affect us. If they just go there and stay there, just like how you put some data into the cloud, it's there. Just pay for it, that's all. But it is not that kind of thing here. You put some data into this mind and that is affecting us back. The next moment it will start affecting. Right? That is why it is very important to clean whatever that is inside this it has gotten into us about ourselves. Like, this is mine, this is me who is doing it, I am the person who can do it. Such kind of ideas are incorrect. That is nothing to do with confidence, because people will say that only when I say I'm doing it, I feel more confident. Why do you want me to not attribute? Then you want me to say like, low confidence? No, that has nothing to do with it. Truly confident people they know very well that they cannot alone do anything. They will have to depend on multiple people in order for anything to happen in this world. The very fact that a person is doing a thing doesn't mean that that person alone has done it. There are many people who are involved, directly or indirectly, for that thing to happen, right? So there is nothing like I did it. Purely, there is nothing like I did it. So that is why those thoughts are hurting us, affecting us, and we need to constantly remind ourselves that I'm having those thoughts, those incorrect assumptions about myself, about this world. Because every day we wake up, that is what we have to do. In fact, every day we wake up, acharyas, the great acharyas who lived, the great sages who lived in the past, they used to advise us that do these two things every day in the morning when we wake up. First is list all the limitations that we have. Not in order to beat ourselves down, but in order to take a laundry list of things that we need to improve upon. For example, I know that I always used to think and I. That is something I should worry about. I should not be thinking that. I know that most of the times I'm jealous if anyone speaks about anything, right, in our own world. I need to be aware of it. Jealousy is stuck to my mind. So likewise, I have this ignorance. I have to improve. Because the reason for listing the ignorance is not to bring ourselves down and go into depression. Do not get me wrong, right? That is what we are like. Most people are expert at it. I won't say we all, but most people are expert at it. Where when you say that list down the limitations, we will just list down, I do not know that, I do not know this, I don't know how to do it, no one likes me, no one understands me. That is not the objective. The objective is to know ourselves as to what are the areas that we should improve upon. Where are our limitations? So that we can work on it, not to bring ourselves down. That is number one we have to do. And the number two, which we all have to do every day in the morning, is to list down positive things in others. Wise people, every day they do that to stay grounded. The moment you start in the morning with the positive things or the good things that we wanted to learn, oh, that person is not having any jealousy. I should be like that. This person, no matter whatever great things he does, he is so humble. I wanted to be that person, and that I like the humility in that person. So the more we appreciate the goodness in others, our inner core is cleansed. The more we are aware of our own limitations, we are already started removing the dirt within our own system that got stuck, because we are aware of it. Okay, we need to, so it's just a matter of time that they all will go away. Instead, we do exactly the opposite. Every day morning, we wake up and we'll start thinking about that guy is this woman is that girl is, most of us. I'm not saying we, again. Some people may are already, you are already practicing it. In that case, very good. So congratulations. But most people do exactly the opposite. We start blaming, finding fault with others, limitations of others, and we boost ourselves by giving some of the well-known positive things of our personality. We'll say that I'm always like that. I did a good thing yesterday, last night, 2 days ago, last week, I did this. This person was happy with me because I did this, blah, blah, blah. We tell ourselves positive stories. We fool ourselves with the positive stories. And we also fool ourselves with others' negativities. And that is going to reinforce our own belief, and the dirt will stay with us forever, right? We are not working towards cleaning it up. So that is what is needed at this time. You'll have to start looking at how we can get ourselves to the next level at any point, wherever we are. No one is perfect yet, right? So wherever we are all in a different, there is nothing like that. Is why no person is great or no person is worse. Everyone is in a different level. Unless we all get to that level where we are able to practice karma yoga truthfully, we are not impacted by anyone's words, anyone's actions. It's not bothering us anymore. We will keep doing the things that we think is right, and that is nothing to benefit us, but it benefits others. And we are not bothered by others' words or actions or behavior or any such thing on anything, right? Few people, few words, no matter who says those words, will just upset them. For few people, few behaviors will just upset, because that is how we have programmed ourselves, our mind, that that is what me. At the end of it, people will just say this. I cannot bear that because that is my personality. There is no such thing as our personality. That is just we have put upon our own rules that these things should happen this way, otherwise I'm upset. What is there to be upset? Right? It is just the nature that it is happening that way, and the other person is doing it because that person got used to doing it. It is I who has to look into myself and see, why is it bothering me when someone else does few things? Why is it bothering me? So it is this introspection that need to happen within myself, and no problem with the outside world. Anything happens outside world that bothers me, whose problem it is? World's problem or my problem? It is my problem, because I do not know how to handle that information that is happening in the outside world. Anything it can be. At the world level, country level, state level, group level, the team level, family level, anything can happen. But am I prepared to handle that event well? It is a problem with me, because that is I am seeing it, I am hearing it. Who can be blamed? I should know how to handle in my mind. So that is why, in order to handle such events, information properly, we should have a system. Our mind should first be cleaned from the dust that it has acquired over the years, and it has formed itself some ideas, some image about ourselves, about this world. That image has to be fixed, because that is a distorted image of the truth. So we cannot decide anything with a distorted image in our mind about this world, right? We are having a distorted image. The world is in a different state. So that is why it is important to fix the distortion. How do you fix the distortion? By going through this karma yoga. The karma yoga involves sacrifice. Sacrifice starts with, it can be anything. It can start with our indriyas. Our indriyas are eyes, nose, ears, skin, and tongue. 5 indriyas. It starts with that, because that is where we receive information or signal about this world, what is happening around us, right? What I see, what I hear, what I eat, what I smell, and what I feel with the skin, they all give me information about this world. If I wanted to fix the distortion about this world within myself, then I better start focusing on who is giving me the information about this world, which is my 5 indriyas. The 5 indriyas, that is why it has to be monitored closely, carefully, and disciplined. If eyes wanted to go the places they wanted to go, then mind should turn that away in order to make sure we do not get distracted. Because with eyes, distraction also happens. We have been watching something, some notification happens in the laptop or in the mobile, right? We just get distracted. Who is that? That's just saying this, or whatever that is, right? Heart. Somebody said that, and then that just notification arrives. We immediately go and click. That is how the distraction. We have been thinking about something, distracted. Go there, and once you see it, next thing is distortion happens. So we'll have to be constantly monitoring where these eyes are engaged in. Where do I spend? See, what do I spend time mostly on? Watching or seeing becomes very important. Likewise, ears. Likewise, food. What type of food? Spicy food do I like more and I eat more? Then that naturally leads to some kind of distortion. Every time I get angry, mad, I have directly an explanation there. If I eat sweets more, then naturally there's a direct behavior. That he also has a direct. That is the reason that in the previous verse he said, start sacrifice on your indriyas. Let's say that, okay, I've been watching this, I've been hearing this, I've been eating this. Let me take a break. Let's give a break to the indriyas. That is what he says. How can we give a break? Not like totally starving, right? That is not really a break. That is like to kill ourselves. Whichever one that we are addicted to, take off the addiction. Say that, okay, I'm not going to be addicted to it. Either anything that you of your choice. The next verse he says that dravya yajna. By practicing dravya yajna, you can properly cleanse your mental system. Because the more we start giving others, we are thinking about others. When will you give others? You think about it. We cannot just like that give others. In order to give the things that we have with us, We will have to use our mind. Why am I giving that person, right? And you need to put your heart into it when you are giving it, right? So naturally, your heart is involved, and you have to think like, this is not mine. I don't, I didn't earn it, right? And this is better utilized by the other person, right? So I don't have to really be truly using a big intelligence here. It is just heart that is playing its role. And that naturally is a way to cleanse the mind, right? Giving involves heart. Now, we all know that one, but we should involve ourselves in more giving. Dravyam. That dravyam also, dravyam means just materials, right? Deal with materials by giving the material to others. That recently there is a trend also, you all might be aware of it, which is uh, what is that? I forgot about the term, where you simple living. Uh, forgot about the exact word, where you just give away most of your belongings, you live a life of simplicity, right? So that is also one way where you decide like, okay, I don't want so much of luxury around me. I don't want so much of these things. Let me give it away. Let me live a life of simplicity. That is also a part of yajna. That is also will help us to think. When a person lives a life of simplicity, then that person is already is thinking like, this is not mine, this is not mine. So that is reduced, at least, right? Whatever that we have is what we will think like, that is mine, which is at least okay. Not 1000 things, whatever that we see, that is mine, this is mine, this is mine. Few people will also think that others belongings are also mine. That is where the stealing happens, right? Why do people steal? Because they think that that ideally belongs to me inside their mind. That is why we go, people go and then do the stealing, right? So the more we have, the more that mamakaram will increase. The more we give away and live a life of simplicity, then that will lead to reduced mamakaram, which is what will really help us, which is what will make us truly happy. Happiness is not in just having more and more and more. Happiness is actually truly having what is absolutely essential for our living, right? Anything beyond that, it is not happiness, true happiness. So that is why dravya yajna is one thing that we all can practice. Minimalistic living, right? I think that word is the word that I was looking for, minimalist. So that is something that is really interesting. Someone wanted to pursue that. And then tapo yajna, the next yajna, sacrifice, is tapo yajna. Tapo means actually literally tapasya, tapasvi, tapasvini. There are many words we have heard about, right? Where people who perform tapa is called tapasvi, tapasvini, whatever that we say, right? So that means performing, that means living a life of discipline in terms of austerity. That also is minimalist. Plus, go through penance, austerity, where perform, you might have observed many uh, sages where they perform, they just stand in one leg and then perform the meditation. They deny themselves comfort. In other words, it's to say to the to take it to the extreme. those, we don't have to do that. I'm just mentioning it. Doesn't mean that we should practice it. There are people who take it to the extreme where they torture their own physique, their own body in whatever way possible, which is not needed. Totally extreme, where they pierce their skin in the name of religion or God or karma yoga. It may or may not work for them, but I would not actually recommend it, or that is not even mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, that you'll have to torture your body or physically torturing it. Such kind of the thing is not at all advisable. I will not even go there, right? But there are people who do that. There are people who do that. And in a structured way, a discipline is perfectly okay, which is, for example, I wake up in the morning every day, 4:30, and then I will meditate upon, recite Vishnu Sahasranama, or I recite this, and I do puja to God, right? By reciting 1008 names, I do that puja, and then I observe fasting in the morning. Such kind of disciplined life is also tapa. That is also a form of yajna. I will do this on this days, right? And a discipline, because we are observing a discipline, that mind naturally orients itself towards that in the process of cleaning ourselves, mental cleaning, right? So that discipline, enforcing a discipline on ourselves, is tapo yajna, right? That is also one good way that we all can practice. These are all prescriptive, where I will not eat anything that is not offered to God. I will not eat anything unless I take, I wake up in the morning and prepare my own food. There are people who will not eat food unless they themselves prepare it and offer it to God. Tapasya. That is one form of tapo yajna. They have decided that this is how they will live their life. And towards that, they will do they will structure their life, they will structure their day, structure their week in such a way that they will do such practices that will make them discipline their mind, right? And then go through a drill. Those are all forms of tapa yajna. And then yoga yajnas tathapare, and few others also do yoga yajna. Krishna says in this yoga yajna is, there is something called Ashtanga yoga, 8 steps of yoga. Starts with yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, dhyanam, samadhi. There are 8 steps. It start, and a person who practices that 8 steps in his life is supposed to be practicing yoga yajna. So those 8 steps, the first few steps we know already. It is to meditation. First 3 to 4 steps are preparation to meditation, which is yama niyama, cleansing our own internal as well as external. Stay purified, taking bath and making sure that we stay pure, in the sense like do not entertain any thoughts, consciously making sure that if someone talks anything that is disturbing the mind or anything that is, I'm not going to entertain, indulge in that thought, even though that is so interesting. And I will not indulge in that. If, let's say, 2 people talk about others and we also join in the crowd and then start talking in their back, and you think immediately that I'm not doing the right thing, but it is interesting. So we just join in and then say, right? So that is definitely when you know these people, yoga yajna people, will definitely avoid. I'm not going to involve, I'm not going to make my mind impure, right? So they are aware of it, and externally they take bath in the morning, they take bath in the evening, and they take bath whenever they go out and return home, and they take bath whenever they go for a haircut, any such thing, right? Unusual thing that they do in their life, they make sure that they stay clean all the time, physically also, because physical cleanliness is primary. Once we, and making sure that the home is clean, like dusted off, and the food they eat is clean, neat, right? They are not going to eat any stinky, stale food or any such thing. The cleanliness is physical there. Yama is literally that. Yama and Yama is literally that. It starts with cleanliness at the physical level. They will not prepare any food that is smelly. So that naturally rules out of any non-vegetarian food, right? That naturally we cannot place it in the refrigerator, or any such thing is absolutely avoided. And any stale food they do not entertain with. That includes this frozen food or any such thing. It is a hard way of living, but in those days definitely people lived that way. And all these things have helped us, and whether to go that way or not, it is up to us. That is why there is no only one way of living, one way of doing the yajna. There are multiple ways. I cannot help it now, I'll have to go through this, but other way is always open. We can always follow in that path and then adopt that yajna, right? Whichever that is works for us. So yama is something like that, where yoga yajna is that, where you follow with a strict purity by definition, and then purity of the mind, and then to restrain ourselves from not indulging in multiple things. That is niyama. You just control the mind so that it doesn't indulge in multiple things, right? It just stays focused on what it is doing and not seeks pleasure. That is niyama. And then practice pranayama, and then asanam, and start doing the meditation. Meditation also with proper guidance from Guru, right? Who will teach us the mantra, and then what needs to be held in the mind, and with that practice it. And they practice these 8 steps sincerely, with dedication, with devotion only. Nothing else they do as part of the karma yoga. As part of the karma yoga, they live their life with that thought that nothing is mine, and that is different. But then they follow this path of Ashtanga Yoga, only 8 steps path, so that they are done. And the other different people, we already saw that, right? Various other people we already saw. So now this Ashtanga Yoga is one more yajna. Now, Swadhyaya Jnana Yajnascha, the next group of people are called Swadhyaya Jnana Yajnascha. Swadhyaya, that means people are they are interested in learning about the true meaning, the truth. How can I fix the distortion of my mind? And they themselves, out of their own interest, they seek knowledge. Knowledge seekers. That is the knowledge who will go behind knowledge. So they will listen to Ramayana, they will listen to Mahabharata, they will listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, not just once, not just twice, but repeatedly, again and again, back to back, so that they understand it, they enjoy it. It's not just a question of understanding it. They like it really. They wanted to keep going on and on and on. Every time the Rama's word or Hanuman's word is said, they are with that story, no matter who recites the story. And they cry when Rama goes through those troubles. They literally are with Rama. They just cry with the story and they laugh with the story. That is how they involve themselves in the process. And that is Swadhyaya. They are just educating themselves about the jnana, right? The the spiritualistic practice of doing the karma yoga. They are doing it through their own research. That can be listening to Mahabharata, Ramayana, and Srimad Bhagavatam and other Upanishads, and going beyond, knowing about where that Mahavishnu is, wherever he resides, what is he doing right now, what is my relationship to him, and what can I do to please him. Those are the questions that drives them crazy. And so they cannot sleep until they find the answer. So they just go and listen, read, not to please others, not to score any points, not to earn any credits, just driven purely by their own inner desire to learn. They go behind and then they read, they listen, they watch, they talk about it, and they don't know anything else. Anytime you speak to them, they talk only that and they just think only that. Those are the people who are behind that yajna, which is the Swadhyaya Jnana Yoga yajna. They wanted to educate themselves about it. Yatayah Shamshitavrataha. So they all are said to be all these people, whoever practices this, right? Who practices the Dravya Yajna, Tapo Yajna, Yoga Yajna, or this Jnana Yajna, they all are supposed to practice a vrata. They are all practicing a vrata. Vrata, you know what, there is a discipline that we practice within ourselves. Now let's move on to the next shloka. Apane juhvati pranam prane panam tatha pare pranapana gatirruddhva pranayama parayanah. And then the next verse, which is 30. Apare niyataharaha pranan praneshu juhvati sarve pyete yajnavido yajnakchapita kalmashaha. So there are people who practice breathing. They take breathe in and then let it go, and then they let go of the breathed in breath into the breathing out breath. Apane juhvati pranam. So prana, apana. There are actually two things, right? Inhale and exhale. So apane juhvati pranam. They just let it go into the exhaling breath. And few people take the exhaling breath and leave it into the inhaling breath. So he is referring to the practice of pranayama. And there are people who inhale, hold it, exhale, and exhale, hold it, inhale. They do this alternatively. There are various varieties of pranayama. That is what he is mentioning. And they are also doing a yajna. If people do just pranayama, it's not that just do the pranayama for 2-3 minutes and then say, oh, I'm also practicing the yajna of pranayama. No. Pranayama is something that has to be understood and appreciated, because think about it, it has to do with breathing. And breathing is something that we all take it for granted. We almost already took it for granted. We hardly pay any attention to our own breath. That is the only one that is in our control. Have you ever wondered? That is also not in our control. Absolutely nothing is in our control. But at least to some extent, we can regulate the breathing. And hardly we realize that power of regulating the breathing. We just live our life the way that our breathing always had been. But if you wonder, if you have observed it, whenever we are mad or angry, have you observed it? Our breathing rate increases. Whenever we are scared of, when we were young, breathing used to be very high, right? Your heart used to beat fast. And whenever we are jealous, if you have observed, just goes up. And whenever we are depressed, then also we know the breathing. So breathing has got a direct impact on the mental state. Whatever that we behavior that we exhibit is purely determined by the breathing rate. If you see a person who is just running with a weapon on his hand, and if you observe his breathing, do you think his breathing and a normal sadhu who is just sitting and then doing a meditation, his breathing are one and the same? No, right? We all know that. So naturally, breathing has a direct impact on mental state of human beings. Yet we know it, but still we do not pay that much attention to our own breathing. Nor are most of us willing to invest in knowing about the breathing and practicing to regulate it. That is why pranayama becomes important. Pranayama is a tool that our ancient Indian rishis have invented it to control our breathing pattern. Their entire belief is based on this premise, which is breathing is the cause. If you regulate the cause, then your effect can be regulated. Because cause, if root cause is known, then the effect can be addressed easily, right? We are working on the effects. What use is that of, right? Merely something like we won't be able to control most of our emotions as much as we tried to. Most of the times you will get mad. You might have experienced this, right? We might have gotten mad. We would have decided that we should never get angry or mad at anyone. We would have decided, we should have promised ourselves, we took vows that I will not get mad. But suddenly it just blows off, right? We just blow off and then we get mad and then that's it. For the next 1 minute, we just blast off all words. And then after some time, we realize that, oh, I should not have done that. So what happened? That is why that is a root. We don't know the root cause. The root cause is inside. The effect is getting mad or angry. And we are worried about that. How can I control that madness? That cannot be just controlled by deciding to control. The root cause is in the breathing. And that breathing is in control, then mind slows down. Once mind slows down, then it has a lot of time to think. If someone yells at, or if some behavior is not acceptable to us, then we have a lot of, even though others will think it like a fraction of a second, for us it might look like we have a lot of time to think and then react. Right? We will not react, we will take a proper response to whatever that is happening around us. We will give a proper response. So that is possible only when we take control of our breathing. That is the secret. And that is no more a secret, it's an open secret that our rishis have long invented and spread that message as pranayama. But most of us are not, I would say, none of us, most people are not willing to give a heed. If some Western popularity happens, something like just like yoga, it happened for yoga, some pranayama, it is already happening. Many people are now talking about it. Then that is when everybody will rally around and say that, oh, that is now the best thing. That is the best tool, right? That is how it has been happening. But we should not wait until such kind of popularity hits and then adopt it. Even before, we should be willing to adopt it into our life and then start practicing it, or at least keep ourselves informed about what is that pranayama all about. Can I practice it? Can I know it? Can I do it? If so, how can I do it? How can I make it part of my life so that I can transform myself, right? No one is perfect. We all are improving one version, other, right? We all are improving and reversioning ourselves. So that is where all these new things are, whatever that is being mentioned in Bhagavad Gita will help us only when we translate this knowledge into actions. The moment you listen to everything, it might be reasonable. Oh yeah, that's right. That makes perfect logical meaning to me. But if I do not translate that meaning into action, then that will be a lost knowledge, right? After tomorrow, day after a week, it just is already evaporated from our mind. That is the nature. That is the nature of the mind. Mind cannot keep things unless it does it. If it does it in action, then mind remembers it. If it heard it through years, then it will remember it only for a few hours. After that, it is gone. That is why translating these things into action is very important. Okay. So let's move on to the next verse, which is 31. Yajnashishtamrita bhujo yanti brahma sanatanam nayam lokostya yajnasya kutonyah kuru sattama. He is almost concluding this yajna by mentioning this, that people who perform this kind of yajnas will just do it, and they will just, whatever the fruit that is accumulating out of that yajna, right? While practicing the dravya yajna or tapo yajna or yoga yajna or pranayama yajna, right? Anything they practice, or knowledge, yajna of knowledge, or by restraining their indriyas. There are so many methods that we have discussed so far. By practicing any of these things, results will accrue, and they live out of that results. Whatever that fruits that it gives, they live out of that fruit, and that too attributed to me, attributed to Krishna, right? I am not getting it. It is just happening. That is all. It is not that I am doing it and I got this fruit. And they live out of that fruits, whatever that is accruing out of it. That is yajna shishtam means the remains, the remnants, the result of whatever that has been yajna that we have performed. Yajna shishtamrita bhujo. He calls it as amrutam. That result of that yajna, the fruit of that yajna is divine nectar, amrutam. So we do not, he says that people who are practicing that yajna will live their life by partaking that system, that remains of that yajna that they practiced. They live that yajna system or remains is nothing but a pure divine nectar. He calls it as amrutam, right? Yanti brahma sanatanam. While doing that, they are going in the direction of eternal knowledge. Sanatana dharma, that we always say, right? We are going towards that. So many people will say that, are you practicing Sanatana dharma? That is a cliche and overloaded term. Many people will use it just loosely. Sanatana dharma. That is as per Sanatana dharma, right? What? We don't even know what Sanatana dharma is until we get to that path, because he says in this shloka that people who live their life by accepting the fruit of their yajna will walk towards the path of Sanatana dharma. So we haven't even reached there yet. We don't even know what that is. But by practicing this, we will get there, is what he's saying. Eternal knowledge, that is Sanatana dharma. Eternal knowledge is true understanding about who we are and true understanding about who God is, because now it is no more a distorted vision. It's a proper vision about this world, about us, about others, about God. Everything becomes clear at that state. Until then, no one is clear. We are all distorted state only. So Nayam, at next line he says, Nayam lokostya yajnasya kuto nyakuru sattama. And then they'll reach there to the eternal knowledge. But Arjuna, Krishna finishes this whole thing by mentioning this. People who are ayajnyaha, ayajnyasya, yajnyaha is one who performs the yajna, right? Ayajnyaha is ayajnyasya, and he says, people who do not practice any of this yajna, where will they go? He's asking. They cannot go anywhere. People who practice it will go to the eternal knowledge called Sanatana Dharma. And people who are not practicing or willing to know or willing to practice it, they do not have any place to go, Arjuna. They will be rotating here itself in the same kind of repetitive pattern of being twisted and turned and hit and smashed by the events of life, by the people and situations around them. They will be going back and forth, living their life again and again, every day, the very same life. There is not going to be anything different if they are not willing to sacrifice, if they are not willing to sign up for a life filled with yajna, any form of yajna. So anything we want to achieve in life, we should be willing to give up few things. He's asking, what is that we want to give up to reach that place called eternal knowledge? For that eternal knowledge, a lot of things need. It is not that easy. Even for getting a small thing, we need to give up few small things, few big things, right? And when eternal knowledge is the nectar, it's literally the honey of life, the true happiness. It is not that easy. We should be willing to give up. That is where he's asking, following whichever path, those people will walk straight and reach that path of eternal knowledge. With that, we complete 31st verse in chapter 4. We will see what happens next verses next week. Sriyah Kantaya Kalyana Nidaye Nidayetina Sri Venkata Nivasaya Srinivasaya Mangalam. Sarvam Sri Krishnarpanamastu.